Good afternoon. My name is Rob Richardson, and I am the Clean Energy Communities Coordinator for the Genesee Finger Lakes region. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our webinar today on CPACE financing. A few notes before we get started. All participants are on mute and cameras have been turned off. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box and we'll address them at the conclusion of the presentation. If you have a municipality-specific question, please feel free to reach out offline after the presentation and I'll be happy to assist you. This presentation is being recorded. The slide deck and a link to the recording will be sent to everyone who's registered. Please feel free to share out these resources. Lastly, special thanks to my colleagues, Jenny Lowenstein and Emily Royce, for all their work and support in putting this webinar together. With that, I will turn things over to Sarah Smiley, the Director of Member Services for the Energy Improvement Corporation, to discuss CPACE financing and how it can benefit the communities in our region. Thank you for joining us today, Sarah.
Email today with but I did, and then you didn't.
Thank you so much, Rob. Very good to be here. I'm Sarah Smiley. I'm Director of Municipal Membership and Transaction Manager for Energy Improvement Corporation, or EIC. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so you can see my presentation. Just give me one moment. Sorry, bear with me for a sec. There we go. And I'm here today to talk about Open CPACE financing, which is the program that we administer on behalf of our member municipalities across the state. So just to give you a little bit of background about EIC, we are a not-for-profit local development corporation. The members of our corporation are those municipalities that have opted into our Open CPACE program, which requires adopting a local law and signing a municipal agreement with EIC, which I'll get into a little more detail later. And those members are generally counties and cities across the state. And it's our mission to operate a successful commercial PACE finance program in order to further the state's goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing the adoption of renewable energy. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, and it's called that because it's financing specifically for clean energy improvements, and it is secured through an assessment that runs with the property. It's a type of financing that's authorized by state law. In this case, it's Article 5L of the New York State General Municipal Law. And it was adopted because the state legislature recognized that we have a very old building stock here in New York, and those buildings with aging equipment or poor insulation tend to waste a lot of energy, and that results in a lot of wasted money as well as unnecessary greenhouse gas emissions going up into the atmosphere. And they recognized that a hurdle to improving those buildings was access to sufficient capital. And so they established through this law that municipalities can provide an important public purpose by providing financing specifically for energy efficiency or renewable energy measures. And that financing can be secured through a special assessment, sorry about that, that runs with the property. And so this is similar to funding mechanisms for more traditionally thought of public benefits, whether it's like sidewalk repair or a sewer or water districts, where there is an assessment that is funding the improvement. In this case, instead of attaching the assessment to a whole district, it's only being recorded against the property that is receiving the benefit of those improvements. And it is because the financing is secured through this type of lien that the members of our LDC are those municipalities that have tax lien authority, namely cities or counties. And in Westchester County, it happens at the town level. So what makes PACE different from a traditional bank loan is that it can be used for up to 100% of the cost of the project. And it's used, as I said, specifically for those renewable energy or energy efficiency projects. And it is repaid at a fixed rate that is repaid over a term that can match the expected life of the improvements. So this means instead of having to pay it back over 5 or 7 years, which you may have to do with a regular bank loan, this can be repaid over 20 or 30 years, depending on the project. So this enables building owners to afford much more significant improvements to their properties that can reduce their operating expenses and cut their energy costs. as well as providing a significant public benefit by reducing greenhouse gas emissions from their building. And because it is backed by this assessment that runs with the property, it is only used to finance permanent improvements to the property. And in the case where the property changes ownership, the next owner would pay future installments of the assessment. So a building owner might be interested in this because they want to reserve their existing capital for other business needs, or because they can't get sufficient capital from their other sources of capital, whether it's their bank or other lenders. Developers find PACE attractive because it's a lower cost source of capital than say mezzanine debt or equity debt, and it's often used to fill a funding gap to get a project completed. So it's a one layer in the capital stack. And because it can only be used for measures that reach higher standards of energy efficiency, it incentivizes developers to include energy measures that might otherwise be cut from the construction budget. So this is really used to facilitate this public benefit of better buildings, whether we're talking about retrofits or making a building better from ground up construction. And depending on the lease, the owner of the building can pass through the PACE charge to tenants who are also receiving the benefit of better comfort in the building, as well as lower utility bills as a result of the financed measures. Any type of building can qualify for PACE financing as long as it is owned by a commercial entity, including nonprofits. And if it is a residential building, we do require that there are at least 5 units in the building. This is not for homeowners. This is not for individually owned properties. And because it is secured through a lien on the property, it cannot be used to finance anything on property that is municipally owned. But as you can see, other than that, it runs across all sectors, whether it's hospitality, agriculture, industrial, any other type of commercial use. Here are a list of eligible improvements that can qualify for PACE financing, and these are all governed by the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA, and they have a document called NYSERDA's CPACE guidance, and that's what we use to confirm that any project that comes through applying for PACE financing is truly an energy-saving project that is providing a public benefit. On the efficiency side, essentially anything that can reduce the energy consumption in a building can qualify for PACE, whether it's insulation, LED lighting, boiler upgrades, or windows. Wide range of measures can qualify. And on the renewable energy side, anything that is generating renewable energy on site can qualify for PACE. And under that category, they also include heat pumps as well. So as you can see, this is for existing buildings as well as new construction. So there are different pathways that you would go through to qualify a project. You can look at a single measure, or you can take a whole building comprehensive approach, doing an energy model of the whole building. And for new construction, it would be something that would be built to a higher standard, so something better than code to qualify using PACE. And NYSERDA offers different options for doing that, whether it's building to a LEED certification standard or New York stretch code or passive house standards. But all of these measures will require an energy audit or a renewable energy feasibility study that EIC would review to make sure that it does conform to NYSERDA's guidelines. Our program is called Open CPACE because it is an open market commercial PACE program. So we have multiple capital providers who have been approved to participate, 17 as of now. And these are all listed on our website. So EIC is the program administrator. We don't provide financing directly. We're administering the program on behalf of the member municipality. And these are the capital providers who will work directly with the property owner. They'll work on all the transaction documents. They will help the property owner or developer with the energy audit process. and they provide those documents to EIC for review. So this means that property owners can shop around. They can talk to all the capital providers on our list if they want to find out who can give them the best rates for their project and can provide the services that they're looking for. And on our website, there are links to each individual capital provider's website, as well as their preferred financing parameters. For the most part, we're looking at starting at $500,000 in terms of the size of project, and it goes up to many, many millions of dollars. Excuse me. So once a property owner determines which capital provider they want to work with, they would apply directly to that capital provider. There's also an application on EIC's website that confirms that the property meets some basic underwriting criteria, and these are in the local law. They can't be in bankruptcy. They have to be current on their property taxes and their mortgage payments. And if there is a mortgage on the property, we require that the mortgage bank sign a lender consent form before we approve the financing. And that's because the PACE assessment on the property is senior to any non-municipal liens, including the mortgage. And then at that point, the capital provider would submit the scope of work and the energy audit. EIC has an independent engineer who reviews that to make sure it qualifies. And then once those requirements are met, the capital provider would sign a finance agreement with the property owner. And EIC enters into an agreement with the capital provider that gives the parameters of the roles and responsibilities in administering that finance transaction. And then it also provides indemnification to both EIC as well as our member municipality. And then the EIC then records the benefit assessment lien on the land records of the property, and we do so on behalf of the municipality. And at the same time, we're recording an assignment of the lien to the capital provider. And then going forward, EIC would send a bill directly to the property owner to collect repayment of the financing. So to give a little bit more background about the benefit assessment lien that's securing the financing, the total benefit assessment is divided up into annual installments. And these are all junior to municipal taxes, although, as I mentioned, it is senior to non-municipal liens. So it is only the annual installment that can be enforced in the case of delinquency. Because it runs with the property, the remainder of the assessment never accelerates. So if the property owner does not pay or is delinquent on their annual installment, the capital provider does have the right to enforce the lien on the property, and they would follow the same process of foreclosure and redemption that the municipality would follow for delinquent taxes. Except in order to do that, the capital provider would first have to pay off any delinquent taxes that are owed to the municipality. And in a case where the property owner is delinquent on their taxes, nothing would change for the municipality. They follow the same process they normally do. EIC would just be notified so that the capital provider has the opportunity to step in and clear those delinquencies so that they don't lose their interest in the property. So the program was really designed so that municipalities can offer the public benefit of PACE financing to see those reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, to help property owners, commercial property owners, make their buildings more competitive and attractive to tenants, and allowing the municipality to provide that public benefit without taking on any administrative burden or financial liability. So EIC administers the program entirely on behalf of the municipality, reviewing the applications. We have an engineer, as I said, who reviews the scope of work and the energy audit. EIC provides sources of capital through managing the capital provider list. And EIC administers the lien that's recorded on the property on behalf of the municipality. And we do that from the time that the financing originates up until it is repaid in full and that lien is released from the land records. EIC also handles all the billing directly with the property owner. So there is no charge that's being added to the tax bill. The municipality is not involved in billing for the payment or collecting it, and is not responsible for guaranteeing payment from the property owner to the capital provider. Each year, EIC would provide an annual report to the municipality that lists all the properties that have utilized PACE financing, as well as a schedule of those repayments. So it's really the benefit to the municipality is that you're stepping into an existing structure. We provide the legal framework, the documents necessary to implement the program. There are no fees to administer the program, and you're not taking on any risk of the property owner not repaying. Because of how the program has been redesigned back in April 2019 to relieve the municipality of any of those administrative and financial burdens, we have seen a big increase in interest across the state. We now have 29 counties participating and 25 cities. And as I mentioned, Westchester County is a little different with the tax lien authority, so we have 12 towns and villages there participating. We have 17 projects as of today. These are all on our website, so you can take a look. And it included our first new construction project back in May. And as you can see, we're seeing significant savings, energy savings, benefiting the property owners who are utilizing the financing. And most importantly, we're seeing significant reduction or avoidance of greenhouse gas emissions, which is really the mission of the organization and what we're trying to do to help municipalities facilitate. Here are a sample of some projects that have benefited from PACE financing, just to give you a sense of the different types of properties, the locations that they are, and different types of projects. This first one here, Wildflower Farms, was the first new construction project. It was in Ulster County this past May. And it's an eco-friendly hotel. And it was one of the few new construction hotel projects that were financed at all during COVID. So PACE financing allowed them to get this project going. And it was qualified through the Energy Star, the Design to Earn Energy Star certification program. Lengthy title there. This next project, 195 13th Avenue, that is on a light industrial building in Suffolk County. They wanted to utilize their rooftop in order to generate revenue. And so they installed solar panels using PACE financing to see significant savings over the life of the project, over $5 million. And were able to utilize PACE financing to avoid any large upfront costs associated with that. This third project here, Wheatfield Gardens, this is a greenhouse farm in Niagara County, very energy intensive operation. And they utilized PACE financing to install a combined heat and power microgrid system so that they could achieve their productivity needs as well as reducing their energy use. And they also used it for LED lighting. This project down here at the Marriott Syracuse downtown, this was a building that was constructed in the 1920s and it was undergoing significant renovations. They want to modernize the building, make it more appealing to visitors. They use PACE financing for a range of energy efficiency measures, HVAC, electrical systems, lighting, and insulation. So it's part of a whole building revitalization. This next project, Shrub Oak School, it was built in the 1950s as a Jesuit seminary. PACE financing was used as part of an adaptive reuse program. It was turned into a private residential educational facility. And again, multi-measure energy efficiency use as part of a gut renovation. This next project here in Schenectady was an office building that was sitting vacant for years downtown, and PACE financing was used to do a range of energy efficiency measures and convert it into an apartment building. And this last project, it was a smaller project, commercial building in Suffolk County. They wanted to just cut their energy use by putting in rooftop solar, and they were able to utilize PACE financing in order to achieve that. If a municipality is considering moving forward with joining EIC and enabling open CPACE, there is a local law necessary to opt into the program, and EIC provides that template. After adopting the local law, there's a municipal agreement between the municipality and EIC that essentially authorizes EIC to act as the agent of the municipality in administering this program and recording the lien on the land records. And since we do operate this program statewide, the documents have to remain uniform. So we do ask to review them before the municipality adopts them. And then once that process is complete, there are a few other documents necessary that we need in order to close transactions. And we provide those templates as well. Here's a list of our participating counties. And so once a county opts in, any local municipalities, towns, and villages automatically have PACE financing available to their commercial properties. And as you can see, Ontario County has adopted the local law, and we're just finalizing the paperwork, so they will be complete soon. And here's a list of our member cities. Because cities generally have their own tax lien authority, they have to opt in separately from the county. And here is my contact information. I know we'll answer some questions after this, but if you have any follow-up questions or just want to get more information, want to see our template documents, please reach out to me and I'd love to chat with you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah. We did have some questions come in during your presentation. The first one being, though 1 to 4 family residential are not eligible, would a mixed use commercial building with 4 new residential units qualify?
Yes, if it is part of a commercial building, that would qualify.
Okay. Next question, is there more than one PACE financing program, i.e. are PACE and CPACE 2 separate programs?
No, so the terms are sometimes used interchangeably. CPACE designates that it's for commercial properties. Some other states have residential PACE programs. We do not have that here. We generally refer to it as CPACE. And what I'm describing is the open CPACE program, which was designed and administered by EIC.
Next question, what are the typical interest rates through CPACE?
What we've been seeing, and this comes from the capital providers, is generally between low 5s up to 7.
Low 5s up to 7. And the last question that we got is, are there any downsides, et cetera, to the CPACE program or things that people perceive as negatives?
I don't know if I can speak to what other people perceive necessarily, but I will say that what can be a sticking point is if the energy audit is not in sufficient shape to qualify for PACE financing, and that can lead to more back and forth between our engineer and the capital provider and their engineer. So it's not, I would say it's not necessarily the most, the simplest process necessarily. So there is that, because we hold it to a high standard of making sure it does meet NYSERDA's guidelines, there is that hurdle to overcome. But if you're, if the engineer really understands the CPACE guidance well, and it is a good energy saving project, that's not an issue.
Another question that just came in, how would a county know to adopt the opportunity of EIC NY or New York?
Well, through opportunities like this, where we're spreading the word about the program. We've done outreach to every county in the state, but a lot of times there are other things on the agenda, or it sometimes isn't always front of mind. So it's really just contacting EIC. We can come do a presentation to administrative staff or legislators, and educating them about the program. Does that answer the question? Maybe they can comment.
Do we have anybody else that has a question for Sarah? What is a benefit to a town which is in a county that already has membership?
So the benefit there, doesn't relate to points in like a certification program like CEC necessarily, but it relates to the opportunity you're providing to commercial businesses in your town. And really, it's generally at the town level that you would see these projects come in that might benefit from using PACE financing. That doesn't necessarily happen at the county level. You're really the first point of contact. So, it's letting developers know and building owners know that they have this resource available to them. It's really another tool for economic development in your town, or for sustainability. So it might not work for every project, but it can be a benefit. So just making sure the word is out there that it is available in your town. You can see projects happen that can achieve this goal of saving energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
And I'd actually like to piggyback off that one. There is a potential point benefit for towns, villages, and that are in counties that have already adopted CPACE. In our program, the CEC program, if a CPACE project breaks ground, that municipality can submit that for 300 points under the CPACE action. So there's a new benefit to towns and villages in counties that have adopted CPACE.
That's great.
Another question that just came in. Once a county adopts the program, how would you recommend marketing the program to the commercial businesses within the county?
Good question. I think that, sort of at a basic level, we provide some material that you would put on the website for the county. So at least it's out there in a public way. I would say if there are any associations or meetings with groups of developers or building owners where you could share this information, that's a great way to do it. We can do presentations, as I mentioned, to groups like that. We've had a city who just convened a small group of developers to share information about PACE. And if you know of specific projects coming down the pike that could benefit, sharing that information with them. But open to other ideas, of course, since you are like on the front lines of how the word gets out best in your municipality. Certainly, we're open to helping in any way that we can with that.
Great. Another question that just came in, can PACE financing be utilized in conjunction with grant funding?
Yes. So as I should have mentioned, for a lot of those energy saving measures or renewable energy projects, there are incentives available either from NYSERDA or the utility company. So absolutely utilize those incentives, and then PACE financing would fund the net of the cost of the project after those incentives are accounted for.
Does anyone else have a question for Sarah? I'll give a minute or two for anyone who might have something.
Sure, and as I mentioned, really happy to follow up one-on-one with anyone or have a meeting with municipalities following this.
Do municipal buildings qualify for CPACE?
Unfortunately, no. We cannot offer PACE financing for anything municipally owned because the financing is secured through a lien on the property. The capital provider would not be able to enforce a lien against the municipality. So that's why it's not eligible. But it couldn't be used for projects that the municipalities involved with in terms of other incentives that might be provided. You know, there have been projects funded where the IDA was involved. So I know those aren't municipally owned properties, but it can be used as part of a package of financing that projects can benefit from.
Okay. Not seeing any other questions come in. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today, in particular, Sarah. It's wonderful information, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Should anyone have any questions, as I mentioned at the start, everyone who's registered will receive a copy of the slide deck that was used today, as well as a link to this recording. Please feel free to share these out as resources with any communities or coworkers that you know. And with that, I would like to close today's webinar. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.